Hi, everybody. So, some pointers for the exercise coming up. So, you're going to be working in G major, right? G major has one sharp. So, if you write out G major scale, it looks like this, okay? And your sharp up front will look like that. Okay, great. Now, remember that there is a major chord sequence for major. Remember, there's one for major and one for minor, and you have to memorize those two for the finals, guys, in case there's an analysis in either major or minor. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you're back to 1. Okay, all right, we don't use 7. We don't use 3. When we're writing 4-part, we don't use those two chords. When we're analyzing 4-part, yes, there may be a chord 3. Okay, all right, so now what we do is we build these triads so that we can see them, so that we can visualize them. Chord 4, chord 5. Now, in chord 5, you must remember that you're going to do a chord 5, 7. That's really important. So that chord looks like that. I'll neaten that up just now. And there's your chord 6. So those are your triads: G, B, D, A, C, E, C, E, G, D, F sharp, A, and E, G, B. Right. So what I want you to do, first step 1 in this 4-part, is to do the cadences. Okay, very important. So you're going to go to something that looks like this, right? And that's going to demarcate the end of a cadence. So under this thing is going to be the final chord of your cadence. Let's see, say it's G, and let's say it's 5, 7, 2, 1. Then this chord will be D, F sharp, A, C, and that chord will go to that chord. So underneath this fermata, you'll have the final chord of your cadence, and then cadence is always 2 chords, right? So those are your 2 chords. Okay, cool. So these are the cadences you need to practice at home. Okay, so the cadences are perfect cadence, but I want you to do it 5, 7, 2, 1. Okay, so 5 would be D, F sharp, A, C. Don't forget your C, that's your 7th. And the rule for this 5, 7, and you've got to get this right, is that in this voice, this has got to rise to there. So that's your leading note, remember? So this is your third of the chord. Remember, of the chord and of the key, this is the third of the chord, but it's also the 7th, or the leading note of the key, that must rise. And then the 7th of the chord, which is the 4th of the key, must fall. So you have to have this configuration. You have to have this configuration. So if you need to remind yourself of 5, 7, 2, 1, just draw out your 5 chord like that, and go, this must fall, that must rise, like that. Okay, and there's G, B, D. There's your chord 1. Makes sense, right? 5, 7. Okay, so that you must know the rules for 5, 7, 2, 1. You'll definitely get one, and that this 1 will fall under one of the fermatas. Okay, then you must know how to do an interrupted cadence. Okay, which is 5, 2, 6. Okay, so 5, D, F, A, you don't have to make it a 7 in this case, is going to E, G, B. So do you see your chord 6 there? There's your chord 6, all right? So you're going from that to that. Now, let's just talk about some rules. So remember that in this sequence, these are primary chords. Primary, primary. So 1, 4, and 5 are primary. And then the ones that are uncapitalized Roman numerals are secondary chords. So 2 secondary, 6 secondary. Okay, and that's really important because in a primary chord, you cannot double your third. But in a secondary chord like 6, you can double the third. So it's very important in this interrupted cadence that you double this third. Otherwise, you'll get something called a parallel. Okay. You're not allowed to have parallel fifths. Okay, so there's a 5th. See the 5th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 5th. And if you have that in this chord, then you've got a parallel 5th. And to prevent the parallel 5th, you can double the 3rd. So that's a really cool, like, way out on these secondary chords is that you can double the third, okay, and you can double the fifth, and you can double the root. Whereas on a primary chord, that's 1, 4, 5, you can't double this third, you can double the fifth, and you can double or triple the root. So those rules are very important just in general. Okay, so please remember, when you get to secondary chords, you've got this way out. If you've got any problems, just double the third, but you can't do it on the primary chord. Okay, cool. And then the last cadence you need for this test, you do not need a plagal cadence, okay, is you need an imperfect cadence. So perfect, 5 to 1, imperfect, 1 to 5. Okay, but remember that imperfect cadences are 1 to 5, 2 to 5, and 4 to 5. They end on 5, but that configuration could also happen. Okay, and basically a 1 to 5 is like doing a 5 to 1 backwards. So if I'm going 1 to 5, that note there should go back to your leading note. So basically, an imperfect cadence is a perfect cadence backwards. So if you can do a perfect cadence and you do an imperfect cadence, you just reverse the rules. But you won't do a 1 to 5, 7. You'll leave the 7 out on this chord. You're only going to use the 7 on a 5, 7 to 1. Okay, guys, I hope that helps. So just very quickly, you're going to work in G major only. You're going to use certain chords, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chords. You're going to remind yourself of which is a primary and a secondary. You're going to start the test, step 1, and you're going to do your cadences, which are basically 2 chords. So wherever you see this, you're going to fill in your cadences. And then at home, you're just going to practice doing a perfect cadence and practice doing an interrupted cadence and practice doing an imperfect cadence. Okay, sticking to the rules. On a primary chord, don't double your third. You can triple the root if you get stuck. So what you want to do is just take these notes and just rework them and fiddle around with them a little bit, guys. You can download manuscript paper on the internet and print it out, or you can just do it on MuseScore, which is cool. Okay. All right, that's video 1.